What up? Wade here. Welcome back to the Wade Alter Show. So today what I want to talk about is how to become an expert copywriter and get six-figure paydays on the regular. And so I think copywriting is one of the most misunderstood realms and misunderstood skill sets if you know nothing about it. And also within the industry, it's one of the most lauded and sort of glamorous things out there. And it's something that, like I said, when you don't know what it is, you're just like, who cares? Like, what's the point? But when you're in that world, all of a sudden it becomes this sort of thing. Like if you're trying to find a copywriter for your business, or you're thinking about like, oh, I don't know how to market myself effectively, I'll just hire a copywriter. The thing is, if they're good, if they actually know what they're doing, they're going to be almost too expensive to use. And so it becomes the challenge of, okay, how do I hire someone? You can't find an employee. They're going to be too expensive. So I need to learn this stuff myself. Is it worth my time? And I really think if there's a couple skills that are the most important as a man or as anyone, one is, I always talk about the ability to approach a woman that you're attracted to and make that happen, move it forward and not feel that you're just got to settle for Jen at work or something like that, or somebody like, from high school or college or something. And so to develop that skill set, awesome. Got to develop that one. Other one is the ability to sell. And so I think for me, one of the ones that I'm excited to continue to develop and one of the most biggest rushes I've ever had is selling from the stage. But also, if I look at what copywriting is, it's this ability to literally turn words into money. Like if there's anything closer to alchemy, I don't really know what there is. And it just gives you so much power. It's just such an empowering skill set. More than anything, this was the thing that gave me the confidence to go out on my own and start my own business. And so what I want to get into are a couple different tactics or different stages that you need to go through as a copywriter. And so you can look at for yourself what stage you're at and what you need to do to hit the next level, and a couple tactics and tools and maybe some principles related to copywriting so that anyone out there can use this. Because I don't care if you're an influencer, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you're in the business context, one, even just to be able to analyze other people's copy and take good things from people and model the right things. But also for yourself, if you're doing a video, the video is actually, that's copy in that video. You might not think it is, but even if you're teaching something, you're also selling yourself and putting yourself out there. Every email that you put out, that's copy. Every ad that you create, every product, instilling little things, persuasion and influence throughout anything that you do. If you're up on stage, the script that you have, or if you're just improvising, making sure to have certain persuasion aspects in that as well. Persuasion, influence in the written form, that's what copywriting comes down to. And that's why it's so important for everyone. Your resume is copywriting and you can use it. And I've helped people. I've had a lot of clients, not a lot, but I've helped clients get promotions, get better jobs, but also with just friends and family. And what I do is I apply the same copywriting principles there that I use within my own business, in the self-development niche, in the business niche, dating niche, all of it. Like I said, it all comes down to persuasion and influence and being a fantastic copywriter. So if I think about for myself where this started from, early off, let's say this is maybe 2011, 2012, and I was trying to start building these own little microsites and I was doing the SEO thing. And at the time I was just finding people to create articles, slap them up on a website, slap on some AdSense, and hopefully you make a little money. And that worked a little bit, but I didn't know what copy was. I didn't know how to persuade people to buy things from a website. And so luckily at the time you could just do that. And that was enough to start making money. But people started telling me that, hey, this really isn't sustainable. Google's going to change the algorithms and things like that. And it ended up happening. I've told the story before. And so I was like, okay, where is an area that I can sort of do something differently? I wanted to just create my own product at the time. And it seems so obvious after the fact, but the fact that I was coaching people every single weekend and building that skill set up, that should be probably a place where I could create a product pretty easily. And that was the product that I wanted to create. But I had no idea how to create a product. I didn't know where to start. Luckily, I had a few old clients that were in the internet marketing field that were like, I'll help you launch this product. And I had one guy specifically, I had a couple great mentors early on. One really helped me package up my content and put it into a product. And then I had another guy who said, I'm going to do everything for you. I'm going to write the scripts for the videos. I'm going to set up the whole product launch and all the emails that you need, creating scarcity. I'm going to help you create the video sales letter. I'm going to have the PowerPoint set up for you. So all you got to do is click the space bar, record this, and then, talk over the top of this. And it was so interesting for me to see how he took my own voice. He watched the product multiple times. He watched it forwards. He watched it backwards. He watched it in different little contexts so he could get the perfect sales bullets. And then he tweaked the sales bullets and moved things around and took my own story. And from all these things, it led to this really compelling sales letter that was in my own voice. He became me in a weird way, and I saw it. And through that process, it allowed me to kind of go, oh, I see what he's doing here. I see how he's breaking things down. I also saw the template or the product launch formula of what you need to do to really build the hype up, what sort of benefits you're trying to highlight, and how that transitions into the sales process, adding scarcity and what that looks like. And as I said before, from doing that, it really gave me the confidence to say, I saw that happen once. I can do that myself now. And I'd love to say I just picked it up right away and was able to do it really well. But again, it really came down to having great mentors. And so the next thing I was like, okay, I did this in the dating niche. I'm going to do it in self-help. And I created this product called the Lifestyle Academy. And that did really well. But the thing that really changed things for me with that was I worked for, months creating this sales page. And because I didn't have a good designer at the time, I worked for even longer creating the web design for this thing. And there's such a strong integration between the design and the copy as well anyways, which we'll maybe get into down the road with this podcast here. And so what was interesting was, I spent so much time. And if I look at after the fact, if you're in that stages of your learning copywriting, what happens first is you got to get good. And then after you get good, then you get fast. And so take your time, learn it, and really refine. Every single sentence is important. And so I remember I was still traveling a lot at the time, and I was in Zurich, and a good mentor of mine helped me break down the copy. And we literally sat there with the laptop, and he goes, this whole paragraph, nope, cut it. This whole paragraph, and he just ruthlessly was just cutting shit out left and right. But as I saw that, I realized, yes, that is a completely superfluous paragraph there. That doesn't even need to be there. He didn't even really need to explain it. But when you tighten it up, and I saw that in real time, it was amazing how fast I was able to kind of pick up on things. And so one of the greatest aspects of writing copy, as well as probably one of the biggest sort of challenges with it, is the fact that you need to get the feedback. And that feedback can be disheartening, disenchanting at times. But it's what leads to you sharpening the sword and getting good fast. So what's important? Yes, you got to read the books. There's all sorts of great books. You can go do searches online and find who the best guys are, what the best books are, the breakthrough advertisings. I love the Joe Sugarman book is the first one that I always give out, as well as, anything by Dan Kennedy, Gary Halbert. There's all these great people that you can get into. But at the end of the day, it's about the application. And like I said, it's going to be long road at the start because you're going to write a sentence. You're like, is this good? Is this bad? I don't know what's up. I think another huge thing you got to do right away is start getting your sales copy crib. And so what the sales copy crib is, I have multiple folders, offline, online, in my email, where I'm constantly putting things in folders that I am going to use down the road. All of a sudden, I'll sign up for somebody's newsletter, and all of a sudden they do a little evergreen product launch. Oh, how about I save all these emails? And then I can use them again down the road and look at that same subject line. I don't create anything from scratch. No highly successful copywriter creates anything from scratch. They go find something that somebody else already did. Maybe it was something Claude Hopkins did in 1921, but they take a headline from there and then they tweak it for themselves, use it here because there's proven formulas. And so, but the way to get there, you got to start accumulating these things. So go find people that you like, go find people that you've bought stuff from or that you really respect and you can tell they have a great business. And sign up for their newsletter, sign up for their email list, sign up, get some courses and see what they try to sell you after that. What is the page? And I'm saving web pages. I'm doing screenshots. I'm saving the HTML so I can get the design and things like that. You want to be consistently getting a repository of these things. So then all of a sudden, I did one project recently where it was in the finance field. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'll go look at this old project that I, saved from 5 years ago. And I can just look at, okay, what do they do with their testimonials? What does the image look like? Where are they bolding things? What benefits are they highlighting? And how could I apply the same thing to today in a new market, in a new way where it's completely different? But man, right from the start, it just sparkles. And so the interesting thing for me, if I look at what great copy really comes down to, the reason why I feel that almost anyone, especially if you're like a coach, consultant, or an influencer, you got to learn this stuff for yourself because no one's going to know your story better than you ever will. And if you're working with clients, no one is going to know how your clients are impacted by your work better than you are. And so the best form of copy, really what it comes down to, it's not about all these sort of tips and tricks and magic little tactics. It's about you getting to know your customer so well that you can know exactly what their pain points are. You can dive into their mind and talk through things through their own thoughts where they go, oh my God, this person knows me better than I know myself. And through that, that's what leads to being incredibly influential to say, hey, now you see how well I get you. Here's how I'm going to help you. And with that, you have something that's great to help them with because, again, you understand them, you know them better than anyone else. And so if you hired somebody to come in and you might give them some market research, you might give them some surveys or some testimonials, still you experience that face-to-face or Skype to Skype or just some format of you working together and getting that feedback every week on your free content. That's going to lead to you being able to impact, build rapport, and persuade them effectively more than anything else. And so much of copywriting, like I said, is just getting to know who your customer is, diving into that one specific person and going, okay, if I imagine they're on the other end, what is the pain that they're dealing with? What are the struggles that they have? And how can I put a reaching hand out and help them through this? And I think another side of this is also disconnecting from the expert frame of where you might have a certain view of what you think they need, but that doesn't mean that they think they need that yet. And so much of this is connecting the dots, getting out of your own way, kind of disconnecting, disassociating from you as the expert, and instead getting into them and being like, okay, I can really imagine myself as that person. And from that place, what do I need to do? What do I need to say? How can I illustrate this to them in a way that they want and they believe in it and they believe in themselves that they can achieve it as well? And if I look at a lot of the great copywriting books, what it does is it's just giving you more and more angles of pointing towards the same thing, of understanding psychology better and maybe understanding, okay, they're more skeptical at the start and understanding things like the reptilian brain and how I got to write at a really low level because they're in this skeptical frame and they're like, oh my God, and there's this fight or flight of, are they going to try to scam me? And being able to write in a way that those barriers go down and they can just see the benefits of working with you. And so, like I said, this takes time. What happens is at the start, you're just getting really good at flipping the features into benefits, kind of highlighting things well. If I look at kind of going from that stage 1 to stage 2, the next thing that starts to happen is you add specificity. And so if I look at people kind of at the novice level of the copywriter, what they're doing a lot is like, if it's in the self-help niche, it'd be like, how to boost your self-esteem or how to live the life you've always wanted, how to have the freedom to do what you want with your life, how to make sure you never have to struggle again in life and live the life you've always wanted. Those things are good. We all want those things, but there's no specificity there. And so if you, again, get inside of their mind and you can really crank that up. Like, for example, I was working with this one client in the finance niche. And so they're talking about, okay, we're going to sell side hustles and kind of be like, okay, how do I promote these side hustles? You can make a couple grand a month and think about what that would mean to your life if you can make a couple grand a month. And it kind of ended there. That was it. You could have full freedom to live whatever you want. I'm like, okay, how can we dive into this? And how can we say, okay, boom, I'm going to show you how to make $5,000 a month. But think about if you only did 10% of that, if you only made $500 a month, you don't think from everything you learn here and the resources I'm going to give you, not even $500, what about $100 a month? Where all of a sudden you just had an extra $100 coming in every month with no extra work. And you're able to just, let's say you were going out to the bar and you're able to buy a round of drinks for your friends. How good would that feel just to be able to do that with really no extra work? And so now all of a sudden they're visualizing like, yeah, man, that'd be really sweet if I just, I was out with my buddies. I'm like, hey guys, I got this round and it's on me. And not to have that sort of financial stress of going, oh, should I really be doing this right now? Or feeling guilty about it and doing it with confidence or accomplishment. And so when you kind of get it that visual and you create a story around it, that's really, like I said, kind of taking things to the next level. Another thing I see at this stage too is also the pro and con side of things. I'm a very, this is something from the NLP world where there's two different sort of motivation paths. One is people need pain and they're running away from things. Like they're like, I was poor, I will never be poor again. And that's why I work so hard to make sure I'll never go back to that stage. And so those are people that are kind of moving away from a motivation strategy. For me, I'm kind of on the other end. I'm much more like a moving towards. So I'm like, oh my God, the future is going to be so amazing. I'm going to move towards this. And of course, it's a spectrum. But in general, this is something I use all the time as a coach to get people motivated to do what they want to do. And that's why they come to work with me. But it's also something you need to make sure to hit on both when it comes to writing good copy. Or again, like I said, I'm saying writing copy here, but I'm saying like if this is in a video and you're talking about, okay, here's 5 tips to attract that beautiful woman into your life. You also need to say something like, here's 5 things to make sure you don't look like an idiot. And so you can have both there and making sure to incorporate, because some people are much more afraid of the risk or they're afraid of what could happen versus other people are much more excited about what could happen. So you really want to hit on both when you're doing things there and really cranking up the pain, but also cranking up the future vision that they could achieve. And then, like I said, kind of the next level is where you're really getting into just being able to do this rapid fast, where you're pulling out your copy crib, gets so nice and you're accumulating all this data. And all of a sudden on the other side, you're just doing it consistently. If I look at the guys that are in kind of they're going from the novice to the advanced stage, like clients of mine and stuff like that, or people, friends of mine, they're doing it consistently. They're doing it every day. They're doing it every week. And you're looking at every content piece that you put out, whether it's a video, whether it's a sales letter, whether it's an email, and you're not just flippantly kind of putting something together. You're going, okay, how can I tweak this up? How can I make it better? And how can I track with feedback here? Even things like your social media, the guys that are the best, they're literally tracking how many likes did this get? How many comments did this get? And I'm not saying this from sort of like worrying about what other people think or something like that. I'm saying from a perspective of, okay, did this one do better than this one? Let's look at open rates. Let's look at click-through rates. But most importantly, let's look at the sales that come in through this process. Because at the end of the day, as I always say, the only person that gets the vote is the customer, not you, not your employees, not your friends and family. It's the people who actually are excited and motivated to buy whatever you're selling and work with you. And so then I would say kind of the next stage, and maybe there's stages after this that I just haven't achieved yet myself, but it's really disconnecting even the skill set from the persona. And so this is getting, I love Dan Kennedy, Gary Halbert. They really break this down well, related to, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good technically you are. It comes down to promoting yourself, the shameless self-promotion of being like, I am the authority. I am the personality that people want to work with. And I see this a lot. Like if I think about like the social media manager sort of business model, and there's, they're really pushing that a lot. There's a lot of opportunity there. So there's a lot of people doing it. It's like, man, how do I separate myself from the pack? Oh, maybe I got to get even better at Facebook ads. Or if I get more sales from my client, that's what's going to lead to them wanting to continue working with me. And I think that's part of it. But if you really want to position yourself as the authority, that comes down to more the shameless self-promotion. And it's about positioning. It's about, okay, what clothes am I wearing? How do I separate myself that way? How do I, share the stage with the right type of people, get on stage? Or how do I get articles in Forbes or in entrepreneur.com and things like that so I can also put these things up? How do I get testimonials? How do I, even things like me moving here to Santa Monica versus a place like Thailand, let's say, like part of me is that I'm positioning myself as like, I don't need to live in some third world country to afford to live. Like I can live in a great city and things are going well. So, hey, you should probably want to work with me because I'm doing pretty well and I'm doing well for my clients. And you could do really well too, or you could do even better. The stories you tell, the team you build, the car you drive, these things factor into how much you get paid as a copywriter. I think a lot of times in business, especially when you're starting off those first couple of years, it is definitely like you get almost jaded. You get kind of like torn down and you might go into it and you're all confident and you're thinking, I'm going to be so successful. And then the real world hits and you just bash your head against the wall again and again. And it leads to this sort of like, oh man, I guess I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. And oh geez, man, it's just like, and you kind of lose that sort of naive confidence that you might have had going into it. But if you want to get really good at this, it comes down to the self-aggrandizement of really, how do I aggrandize? It's a tough word there. Really blowing myself up. Don't be humble. Too many people, they're humble to a fault. I had the Chosen 20 retreat. And in the very first day, I'm like, okay, introduce yourself. But if you're going to introduce yourself, give me the 100x, the 1000x version of that, because it makes me look better. If you say you're an amazing client and all of a sudden every client's like, oh yeah, I do this great shit. I don't want you to be like, oh, I work at a hedge fund. I want you to be like, I managed $250 million for a hedge fund of one of the most famous and successful, guys that started a hedge fund ever. Cool, boom. That's great. Next guy over here. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, I have a social media company. I'm like, no, crank it up. Like, oh, I have 19 employees and it's a 7-figure social media company. I've been doing it for 6-7 years and we're like number one in all of Australia and the Melbourne market or something like that. Just whatever it is, how can you crank it up? You need to realize people want to be friends, especially in a business context, or if you're trying to find the right clients. They want to work with people that are successful, that are awesome at what they do. And so it's that thing of every day leaning into it a little bit more, where yes, you don't want to brag, you don't want to qualify yourself, and it is a very fine line here, but there's a way to say those things and highlight those things in a way where it's like, man, they want to go back and they're like, man, I met this guy. He's got like 19 employees. That's crazy. Like, oh my God, I met this guy. He's like traveled to like over 42 countries. That's cool. Like they want to be able to brag to their friends about the people that they're meeting. And so as long as you're offering value and you're not using it, I think that here's the big distinction. You're not trying to get a response of them being like, wow, that's really cool. You're trying to be like, hey, I'm trying to help you out and show like, I got great shit You probably got great shit. Let's do great shit together. And so I think I've ranted long enough here. I want to do some great shit with you. And what this comes down to is we just created a new Facebook group called the Freedom First Business Mastermind. And if you want to join, go to facebook.com/Freedom First Movement. Because this is a freedom first, it's a movement. It truly is a movement where it's about putting the freedom first and using your business as a vehicle to creating the life that you want. And so again, facebook.com/Freedom First Movement. And so if you're interested in copywriting, if you're interested in marketing, sales, systems, anything to take your business to the next level, leverage yourself more effectively, then I highly suggest signing up, getting part of the group. It's totally free. And one cool thing that we're doing right from the start, actually, just to kind of pop it off in a nice way, is every week I actually have my head of marketing. He does the email for the email list. And so what I do is I train him and I do a video breakdown of the email, giving him tweaks and tips. And it really is my sort of training process that I do with clients as well to get them to become better at copywriting. As I talked about for myself, I used to do this all the time. Or like the thing that made me so good was having that mentor over the shoulder to really help me out. And so I just decided, I talked to him, I'm like, dude, are you cool if I just put these things in the Facebook group? And he said, yeah, totally, man. And so I've decided that every week you're going to get basically a free, copywriting training here if you're a part of this group. And I think it's going to be incredibly helpful. If I look at how much he's evolved in just a few short months from these emails, and now knowing that there's going to be a bunch of people looking at these, I'll make sure to incorporate more of these little copywriting tweaks and principles that I've learned over the last 6 years. And it's to the point, like I said, some of the gigs that I'm getting these days, some of the consulting gigs, where it's like, if you have between the front end plus the commissions, these things are easily getting up into the 6-figure realm. And so I think if you want to get that and you want to learn that for yourself, or you're just thinking, okay, how could I make my product launch better? Or how could I position my high ticket offer a little bit nicer? I'm going to be, really kind of open sourcing my business or revealing behind the curtains to show you what we do to really make our messages and our messaging as impactful, as persuasive and influential as possible to really compel people like yourself, my clients and my prospects and my leads and my customers to work with us more, to take things to the next level, to get more intimate and really help them create the change that I know that they want. And they know that they kind of want it, to twist their arm so that we can work together and really change the world together. So that is my mission, to really put the lifestyle first, the freedom first movement. If you want to join, head to facebook.com/Freedom First Movement. All one word, no spaces, no dashes. Check it out. I'll see you inside there. And as always, enjoy.